Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today's Aspiring Speakers Lightning Talks. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Abby. I work with Barry Cranford, who's the founder of Aspiring Speakers. That is just one of 15 different communities run by RecWorks. We are a tech recruitment company with a massive difference. So as a company, we're always on the lookout for more clients. Some of our best clients have come from community members who've recommended RecWorks to their internal teams. So if you are hiring for a new team or working with a company that is, please do let us know. We can let you know a bit more about what we can offer. Just send me a message on Twitter, LinkedIn or Slack, and we would really look forward to working with you if that's something you're interested in. We also, though, believe that recruitment really can be a force for good in the industry beyond just placing people in jobs. We have a particular focus on learning, mentoring and personal development. If people want to learn and others want to teach or share their knowledge, we are more than happy to connect you through our communities and events. We see this as giving back to those we've worked with in the past, but also paying it forward to those we hope to work with in the future. Earlier this year, we made our 4,000th introduction through our Meet a Mentor program. We are really excited about that, and we're looking forward to seeing where that's going to go next and make our 5,000th introduction. As I've already said, we love to give opportunities for people to connect, and this event is part of that. If you'd like to know more about any of our communities, all of which are free, by the way, please do get in touch with myself or Helen Lewis or Barry if you know him as well, and we can take it from there. We have some great talks to hear today. I'm really excited for what we're going to hear. And to kick us off, first of all, is Mirren. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much. I am going to share my screen and let's see how that goes. Just can you confirm? I think that looks like I'm sharing. Okay, great. I'm going to get started. Well, so I'm Mirren. I work for a consulting firm that does a lot of blockchain work. And when I first showed up, I did not have a Web3 background and I had no idea what was going on. So I had to educate myself quite quickly. I'm assuming that potentially some of you are in the same boat. So I thought I would do a whistle-stop tour through the background, problems, and opportunities of blockchain. So if you haven't been paying a lot of attention, you might be forgiven for thinking that it's just sort of a bunch of young male scammers on the internet banging on about pictures of monkeys and coins with dogs on them. And to be honest, quite a lot of that's true. It really is currency. And now NFTs are really a very large part of the ecosystem. They're still the largest part ever since Bitcoin was founded in 2009. And the explosion of NFTs in the last couple of years has been about exploring what can you do with anything that kind of requires proof of ownership and a sort of transparency of journey. People are really just kind of casting about to see what the new technology can do at the moment. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on, and that's fine. But there's also some really interesting possibilities that I'll talk you through. But so first of all, what is a blockchain? So a blockchain is essentially a distributed database that's being updated all the time by lots and lots of people. And you don't know who these people are, they don't know who you are, but their eyes are on you and yours are on them. And it's kind of like living in a small town where everyone is participating in each other's public business, but no one knows each other's name. And once something happens on the chain, and again, this is like a small town again, you can't change it and you can't delete it. So you have to be very careful about what you do in the first place. And then the decentralization part means that if you wipe out a little part of it, it doesn't affect the whole because all of the information is stored on every single node of the network. Now, there have been a lot of problems with blockchains. The dominant narrative has been that they're environmentally unsustainable, and this is absolutely true of Bitcoin. In fact, from its very design, the design was that if you are participating in the Bitcoin network, if you are mining Bitcoin, if you are confirming other people's transactions, you do it by solving very complex mathematical equations that take a lot of energy. And this is still the case with Bitcoin. It's not the case with most other chains now. And in fact, the second largest chain, Ethereum, has actually quite recently moved to a totally different system. And now the energy use there is pretty comparable to what most of us use in computing. It's not really an issue. Money laundering has definitely been a problem. Anytime you have anonymity in a system, it's open for abuse. So a lot of countries around the world are attacking this by putting into new sort of traditional banking, know your customer rules. You know, financing terrorism, you know, we might agree is always a bad thing. User experience has been really, really tough. And it's kind of like the early days of the internet where you had to do everything yourself and the terminology was really weird and just everything was really hard. And that has been the case with most blockchain applications up until really recently. Something that a lot of people are working on now, including my own company, including me and my teams. Really interested in making it something that people actually, you know, normal people want to use. And then last but not least has been a culture that has been very exclusionary. If you're not in crypto culture, you're out, you know, and very misogynistic. And so all of these things, I believe, are changing, but definitely need to change in order to bring on the next billion users. There are still some problems for the future. So I mentioned that there are a lot of countries who are putting into place new regulations. This isn't a super problem. It's just something you need to really pay attention to as everyone's scrambling to keep up, just to make sure that your project doesn't all of a sudden become illegal in your jurisdiction. One thing I am worried about is the potential for abuse from on high. So China, for example, has outlawed cryptocurrencies recently, and word on the street is that they're building their own private blockchain. Now, blockchains do not have to be anonymous, so it's not outside the realm of possibility that China could force all of its citizens to sign up to their blockchain, input their own personal details, and then be tracked, have absolutely everything they do in their lives tracked. That worries me. On the flip side, so if we're just talking about money, first of all, if you live in a country whose currency is constantly being devalued, you're going to want to look at different asset classes. So, for example, Venezuela, they love Bitcoin there because their money's not worth anything. Or if you're a refugee, if you're fleeing human rights abuses or a climate emergency, historically, these people have fled with nothing on their backs. Now there's a potential for them to arrive in a new country and have most of their assets with them. And that's pretty exciting. And then on a sort of slightly lighter note, there are a lot of people around the world in the developing world who are doing micro work online or getting micro loans for setting up businesses. But the way they're getting paid cross-border, an awful lot of their what they're getting paid is taken up in the traditional banking fees, whereas with crypto, generally the transaction fees are pretty low, so that's not a problem. They actually get all of the money they're being paid. And then last but not least, there are all sorts of sort of non-monetary potentials. So supply chain tracking is one of them that you'll probably have heard of. Walmart, you know, one of the biggest companies in the world, has built their own chain. Well, they're using a public chain, but they've built their own system where they interact with all of their suppliers, but they also interact with some of their competitors. And that's what's sort of interesting about it, is that you can cooperate with people who you can show them some public activity, but not allow them access to your sort of private trade secrets. But then another thing they can do, so they say, you know, if there's an outbreak of a foodborne illness, they can find it within seconds. They know exactly where it came from and they can shut that down and avoid loss of life and economic damage. I am basically at the end there. 7 minutes goes very quickly. So I'm going to stop here, say thank you very much. Super quick plug, we are hiring, so if you're at all interested, get in touch with me. Thank you very much.
Excellent, thank you. I'm so sorry if you can hear my washing machine in the background now. No. The joys of working at home. Does anybody have any questions for Miran?
Yeah, Miran, thanks. That was good, like super good. Yeah, well done. Just one thing, you touched on NFTs. I think that was the first slide. Yeah. Can you maybe expand a little bit on NFTs? What they are, why they're important?
Why they're important? Well, I gotta admit, I don't think NFTs are very important.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot going on in the Web3 world there's a fair amount of BS going on. But I mean, So one of the ways that NFTs could work really well is, so one of our clients right now is in the e-gaming space. And right now, if you're in a game and you buy, say, like a car or skins or whatever, you can really only use it in that ecosystem. Whereas if it's an NFT and it goes into your wallet and then you go into a totally different game, you could use it over there. So that's kind of interesting. I'm not a gamer, so I don't care. But economically, you could sell that very well. And then there's sort of proof of ownership of a lot of things you can use NFTs for, but you don't necessarily need to. Yeah, I'm on the fence about NFTs, frankly.
Yeah, you know what? That brief explanation, you really like done it for me, because that's the missing bit. No one's been able to just tell me in one line like you just did. So thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions for Mirren? Okay, I had one actually, Mirren, and you may or may not know a definitive answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. You mentioned when you were talking about Bitcoin and currencies, you mentioned about them not necessarily being very environmentally sustainable. Is there one particularly that, or are there a couple that you think are the most environmentally sustainable currencies, if anybody's interested in that kind of side of things?
I don't know what the most environmental is, but all I know is that Bitcoin now is the worst.
Okay, that's good to know.
First of all, it's because it was the one that first came out. It is the Genesis one, and it has not changed from what's called proof of work to proof of stake. So proof of work, it kind of does what it says on the tin. Like if it's a proof of work chain, then you got to do a lot of work, and that takes energy. Whereas I mentioned Ethereum, they have their own coin Ether that is now on, but then there are all sorts of chains that are of varying levels of sustainability. So it's something we talk about, but I couldn't tell you exactly which one. There's so many, but basically Bitcoin.
Not Bitcoin, but anything else, pretty much okay. Cool, thank you. That's been really interesting to hear about. Thank you so much for coming and speaking.
You're welcome.
So next we're going to move on to Adirin. I'll go for it.
Thank you. Trying to share my screen. Okay. Let me know when you can see my screen, please.
Yeah, I can see it.
Oh, okay. I think I'm sharing wrong one.
You're sharing the presenter view, not the.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. There you go. Okay, tell me what you see.
Yeah, see your face.
Awesome stuff. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. It's Adirin here. It's good and lovely to be back again to talk to us about a topic that I think is really important. But before I do that, I normally say this to myself every time I do a talk, because I genuinely wake up believing this, that I'm going to make a difference today. So I just want to invite everyone that's interested to say the same with me. I am going to make a difference today, right? Okay, so thank you for saying that with me, and I really wish you all the best, as you try to do that every day. But then this is the topic we're talking about today. Are you tied by your title? I'm looking at mid-career to senior level people with this talk, actually. So let's attempt to answer the question. There's so many things going on in my head right there at that minute, but let's attempt to answer the question. If you're tied by your title, the first way to kind of give yourself a check is, does my title make me feel socially accepted? So without my title, do I feel like I belong somewhere? Do I feel like I have that, credibility to go in maybe to a meetup or something and talk about myself? If you feel like that, then maybe you might just be tied to your title. And the second is, does my ego, is it actually fed by the title, by what I'm called at work, or things that matter to people, right? You go into a meeting, until you introduce yourself as the vice president or the MD or something, do you actually feel like you belong there, you connect there, or you should be there? If your ego is fed by a title, then maybe, just maybe, you are tied to your title. Okay, so I came across a report. This was done in 2012, and it says the number of retail managers that's earning below £400 a week has increased from 37% to 60% since the early 2000s. So what is this saying to me? Just thinking about it, that it seems now title is actually greater than money. What does this mean? It means that the title and the statuses that they convey is slowly becoming more important to people, because people aspire to this, power sounding titles, even with responsibilities that don't match them. But tell you what, there's actually a name for this. And what's it called? Job title inflation. Yeah, so what does that mean? This is a situation where the title is higher than the responsibility, the wages, and the relevance within that organizational context. You see, because in every human, there is the need to feel loved, to feel important, to feel relevant. And such inflationary titles actually tap into that feeling. If you do a quick search on Google today, you see that there are a lot more roles for vice president, for managing directors, even people that have just come out of university, they attach senior to their name, right? Because it just gives everybody that sense of relevance, that sense of, responsibility attached to a job, right? But this is the truth. Today, I'm going to share with you one way that we can break out of this job inflation trap. Before I do that, I'll tell you the story of two stonemasons. Some of us might have heard about it, but we had two stonemasons doing exactly the same job. But they asked the question, what are you doing? One of them said, I'm earning a living, but it's breaking my back. But the other one said, it's an absolute privilege to do this because I'm building a cathedral that's going to be so beautiful and will last over 200 years. One of them have a title mentality, but the other one have what I call personal significance. Personal significance. What is it? Why is it? How do you figure this thing out? I just asked a few questions, just to prime you. So think about what the world, your team, your family, your spouse, whatever, what they would be missing if you weren't here. What is that thing that you wake up every day and you're silently excited about? Or if you have so many titles right now, what would you call yourself if all the titles are taken away from you? What is left? When you're able to answer that question, you found your personal significance. Okay, but hey, somebody might say, this is another pie in the sky idea. Have you tried it yourself? Just give me all the feel good thing that you see on Facebook and LinkedIn. But no, I've actually tried this myself. So as I have progressed through my career, I've been called different things, from tester to quality guy, part tester, part developer, part mentor, head of delivery, whatnot. But what has been constant across that is that my significance never changed. Because everywhere I go, I help people and processes to evolve into a better version of themselves by providing them practical ways and systems to do so. And I've grown in different organizations, not because of the specific technical skills I bring, even though I have that, but because I always bring my significance to the table. And it's helped remove us in different organizations I've been from a lot of trouble, because I tend to see things beforehand because I'm really interested in making things better. But when you find this out, you find your significance, how do you sustain it? Learning. No organization will train you beyond their needs. You got to learn for yourself to meet your own needs. Something happened to me some years back. I was speaking to my mentor, and I was speaking to him that how I expected to get some training that never happened, and I was just lamenting actually. But he simply said something to me that changed my entire view. He said, when you're ready to learn editing, your teacher will appear. And I was like, wow, okay, that hit me. And that statement opened my eyes to all the vast resources that was available for me to, to learn, for me to feed my significance. Because if I don't feed it, it's going to die. A lot of people have dead significance because they don't feed it. It's just like a human being that's not eating. Right. So that statement opened my eyes, and I started to do things that I never imagined. I joined Toastmasters to improve my communication. I'm not a native speaker, so I went somewhere where I could face my fears. Okay. I started consuming books to do with behavioral science and mindsets. I volunteered for charity that is involved in transforming lives, from people that have no significance to discovering your full significance, and a host of other things that I've done. But because of time, I think I'm going to stop at this point. But the thing I like to let you know is that training is what people do to you, but learning is what you do to yourself. So the more you feed your significance, the more confident you become with your significance. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I leave you with this. Don't inflate your job title. Inflate your significance. Thank you.
Love it.
I love that. Great. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Edirin?
Not a question, but just I love how confidently and articulately you talk about your significance, about your personal one. That makes me go, ooh, I need to think about mine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely. I just love the point that you made about, what would people be missing if you weren't confident in your significance? Like what is it that actually you do bring to the table? It's really good to evaluate and work out what that is for each of us, isn't it? So that we kind of can, like you say, wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to make a difference today because this is what I can bring to the table. That's, yeah, amazing. Love it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you. You're able to recall that, wow, thank you.
That's all right. I'm glad I got it vaguely right as well. It's good. It shows it works because it's gone in. It's gone in. So.
Oh, thank you, Reginda. I hope I pronounced it correctly, Reginda. Yeah, Reginda says very inspiring. Thank you.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Well, we've had a rather short but sweet session today, but that's absolutely fine. If you have listened to these talks today and you think, oh, I'd like to do a lightning talk, but I have no idea how to get started, fear not. We have workshops available through RecWorks, but we also do have an aspiring women's speakers workshop coming up next week. I will put the link in the chat along with the link for the YouTube channel, so you can get the recording of today's session if you'd like it as well. We usually give it about a week after the event for it to be up on the YouTube channel so that you can access it should you want to. So all that's left for me to say now is thank you so much, Mirin and Edirin, for coming and speaking to us. It's been a real pleasure to hear from you. Thank you. And thank you, everybody else, for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing you at a future event. Have a great afternoon and take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Mirin.
Bye.
Bye, Reginda and Herrick. Right.
Bye.